many people here today watch Cops, Night Watch, or Live PD. These shows document the real-life encounters that police face daily. As a family member of cops and military personnel, it's hard to see social media discriminating against these people because of what happened with George Floyd. Racism has been an argument that has been the center of police officer arrests and deaths for many years, and currently the local community has become divided on their support for the local authorities because of the death of George Floyd. The social cognitive theory explains what influences people to behave the way that they do, and many community members are finding it hard to do daily errands in fear of running into protests that may become violent. Stereotyping all police and military members has become a recent crisis in the United States. Due to the recent death of George Floyd, people around the world are protesting police and military. Video of police officers kneeling on Floyd's neck has become viral over social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, and even local news stories channels, where Floyd was being heard saying, "I can't breathe," which was seen in a video posted by Fox News in Minneapolis. There's a campaign also that has been started called Defund the Police. Take away funding from all the police. Defunding the police means shrinking the scope of police responsibilities and shifting most of what government does to keep us safe to entities that are better equipped to meet that need. Was written by Lopez, who wrote a story in USA Today. The call for defunding the police is really a call to relocate the money that the police officers are getting and put it into new social programs. The poorer communities that don't get the funding like other communities do are mainly Black communities, and these communities want to see the funding that police officers are getting being put back into their communities so that they can grow and develop and get out of the cycle that they've been put in of just being known as poor communities. There are protests where police stations are being burnt to the ground as well. Fox News reported the 3rd Precinct police station in Minneapolis was set ablaze Thursday night as violent protests continued in the city and other cities across the U.S. following Monday's death of George Floyd, a Black man who died while in police custody. These protests are becoming violent, and people are finding the need to start fires and vandalize police property. Due to the stereotyping of all police and military, local businesses are ending specials they provide to police and military personnel. Allie's Donuts ended discounts for the military and police as a call to end racism and injustice in law enforcement. The owner of the local donut shop tweeted that he would no longer give discount to military or police following the George Floyd protests. This caused a lot of protests between social media, and some people were lined up outside the next day in support, and others were protesting outside in support of Allie's Donuts and the manager's decision to stop discounts. Staff members of the donut shop also quit because they felt unsafe. WPRI's news station in Providence reported that in an Instagram video, owner Matt Drescher said he's now the only person working at the store due to his concerns for employee safety. When he made it clear he was against police brutality and systematic racism, Drescher and his employees started to get abusive comments online. Therefore, the staff quit because they didn't want to be harassed when they were coming to work. One of the things that Channel 10, WJR Channel 10, has stated is, let's start talking about how to lift up our community and not tear it down. Police themselves aren't the problem, racism is the problem. And that's the message that Channel 10 is trying to get across, that it's not police and military, it is racism that's the problem. People are influenced by the actions of others. The social cognitive theory explains why people behave the way that they do. A basic premise of social cognitive theory is that people learn not only through their own experiences, but also through observing the actions of others and the results of those actions. This was taken from a learning material written by Frederick Glanz. There was no date on that material. Social media has a major impact on how people react to the stories that we share. And because of that, people may react to what they hear even though they haven't actually experienced it. And they may be upset even though they haven't ever experienced being a black person being targeted by police. They're just getting upset because of hearing the stories about it. People who have not had encounters with police are seeing the videos surfacing and joining in the protests because people are reacting based on the experiences that they're seeing. People also react with emotion when they're put in uncomfortable situations, and that can cause people to riot and protest, and then maybe afterwards they might think that that was not what they should have done, but they're still going to do it because they're acting upon emotion. And that's part of the social cognitive theory. The reactions of the people have caused protests throughout the world, which sometimes turn violent. As a local member of the community, I feel unsafe going to certain places where people are protesting, even if the protests are peaceful, because of all the news coverage and everything going on. You don't know if the protests are going to become violent. So the videos are surfacing of the protest through the news, and they're being violent in some of these protests, and that can make people fearful to do everyday errands because they don't want to go into the cities or into the areas where these protests are. People are also targeting local police, and this will take away the police from where they're really needed. So a Detroit police officer was taken to the hospital after being struck by a rock thrown by protesters, according to the police chief, James Craig. This was in Detroit during a protest, and it shows that people are targeting the police just because of a couple police officers, and they feel that they need to target the police because of this. Curfews are also put in place in the cities, and these curfews are sometimes followed and sometimes they're not. It depends on the city and how big the protests are. Racism has been an argument that has been the center of police officer arrests and deaths for many years, and currently the local community has become divided on their support for the local authorities. The social cognitive theory explains what influences people to behave the way that they do, and many community members are finding it hard to do daily errands in fear of running into the protests that may become violent. Police and military personnel are all being stereotyped as racist due to the events involving George Floyd. Allie's Donuts, a local business, stopped their discount for police and military to show that they stand by the people of the state against racism. The social cognitive theory shows how people react from past experiences, but also how they react from other experiences. These reactions are causing protests not only around the United States, but around the world. Racism has been an ongoing argument for many years, and people are still fighting for equal treatments of minority groups in this country, and they will continue to do so.